In this section, we're going to start building our own version of Mike's car design. And he's done his concept development using polygons. And we can use this mesh model as a really useful underlay to give us our basic proportions. But you can see that the surface quality of a mesh is always poor. So our job is to create high-quality NURBS surfaces to develop the design to the next stage. Now, one of the issues with the mesh model is that it's very dense and it can obscure the new geometry we want to create. So over here on the control panel, I have a set of transparency sliders that I can use to just fade out the mesh, which makes it much easier to work with. And I can also use the layers to make it reference or inactive. Now to start with, we just use a simple primitive plane surface to create the surfaces for the centre of the car. And we just use all of the same tools and techniques that we used in section 2. Displaying the CVs, picking the holes and control points, and non-piece scaling, or moving up and down in this case, and making use of all those mouse constraints that you've been practicing. And it's possible to create the whole centerline strip in the same way, because they're all four-sided patches. But instead of doing that, I switch from creating surfaces and show you the curve tools in Alias. When we create these centerline curves using the tools on the Curves palette. And all of these are NURBS curves, so we just use the same techniques. Displaying the CVs and picking and moving them to shape the curves. But I also use these to explain some of the underlying theory, which you can find in the first 2 theory builders on the website. I've also included a couple of skill builder projects that focus on multi-span curves and surfaces. And the first is a mannequin design made from detailed multi-span curves and periodic circles. And these can be grouped together and organised in the object lister, so that we can pick each part and rotate them and move them to create different poses. And this model can become a useful resource for setting out your future design projects. And then we have a multi-span surface example, this gear lever assembly, where we deliberately create a large number of CVs, which is something we'd normally avoid for vehicle exteriors, and then use those to sculpt in some complex shapes to represent the fabric or leather on this gear stick gaiter. And it allows us to create organic natural shapes that won't get manufactured in this case, but they help us to visualize the design. So NURBS just stands for Non-Uniform Rational B-Spline Mathematics, which is the foundation of Alias modelling. And if you want to understand a bit more about NURBS, either before or after you do the tutorials, then take a look at the first 2 theory builder documents.